Hello everybody. Welcome to live stream 26, the title of which is the Unseen Seer. So for those of you who listen to live streams 24 and 25, 24 was called Who is This Self in Self-Realization, and 25 looked at the fundamental spiritual inquiry question, which is who am I? And I'm seeing this stream tonight, the Unseen Seer, as completing a trio on the nature of this self and in self-realization. And you remember in stream 24, for those of you who've seen it, and if you haven't, it's worthwhile going back to look at it because it might make what I'm saying tonight make more sense to you. I was focusing on then the nature of this self. What is this self? And the kind of major point arising out of it is that it's what I refer to as the infinite silence, and it's totally non-personal. And this infinite silence in other ways is expressed as pure awareness. Pure awareness. And it's very important to understand that this self in self-realization is totally non-personal. It's just awareness, and it's awareness of itself as infinite silence. And then I went on to share that this expression that we have of that in the form is the way that it comes to experience itself. Without the beingness and the physical domain and time and space, we won't have experience, because the absolute, the infinite silence, has no experience. So that was the summary of stream 24. And then in stream 25, I went in to explore that deeper by looking at the question, who am I? And you'll remember the summary of that one, this question, who am I, when explored to its depth. Mind goes, well, I am this person with this story, these beliefs, and so on. But you remember I pointed out at great length that any phenomena, any sensations and so forth, weren't the self, whether it be from feelings, sensations, emotions, even beingness, even just pure beingness, nothing after the words I am, that wasn't the self either. You are before I am. The infinite silence is before the I am. So I'm just summarizing those two streams again, 24 and 25, because what I want to go on to now is what I've referred to as the Unseen Seer, because that's another reference or pointing to or label that we can use for the nature of this true self as infinite silence. And it's the Unseen Seer. Just listen to those two words carefully. Unseen Seer. This means that this true self is the unseen. We're so used to seeing, feeling, touching, tasting, hearing, and yet this true self is the unseen. And it's also the seer. What does that mean? It means that from the personal identity space, human personhood, that's not the self, and you're not going to realize that you are this infinite silence whilst there's still identification, an attachment and belief in that identification as the form, as the person, as the ego. For this to be realized, this identity has to be dropped. And so that you, in the non-personal sense, become the unseen. In fact, you are already this unseen, and you've never not been that. The realization then is about dropping the identity so that the awareness or remembrance or realization can come that you are the unseen, the pure awareness, the infinite silence. This also fits with a question. I'm not sure what the origins of this question are actually. I did have a quick look. But it doesn't really matter because its pointing is still important anyway. And I've heard it referred to as the Piranha Question. And the question is, this self, can this also be seen? And then going on to say, this you must discover for yourself. This self in self-realization, can this also be seen? That is basically the Piranha Question. And you might wonder why it's called the Piranha Question. And the reason it's called the Piranha Question is that it swallows you up. Like the who am I question, when explored to its end point, it swallows the personal identity up. And it's in the dropping of the belief in the personal identity completely that the awareness or the realization of the self emerges. It's not something that's seen in the traditional sense. It is the awareness of this, and that you, in the non-personal sense, are it. That is suddenly realized, remembered, known. It is seen that you are the awareness in the non-personal sense. The awareness recognizes itself as awareness. That's all. And that's why it is unseen. It is not seen from the human space. It is recognized, remembered, realized from its own space in the non-personal sense, and that's what you are. So hopefully you're starting to piece together why I've considered this as a trio of streams, from who is this self in self-realization and the who am I question, and now looking at it from the perspective of the unseen seer. This just gives us another angle, another pointing, another way to explore this, and that all becomes clear as the personal identification has dropped. And you may have remembered that I've said on other streams, it's only the belief that you are not this realized self now, i.e. the belief that you are this person with this story, that stops the realization. Only that one fundamental case of mistaken identity stops the realization, whether it's conscious or unconscious. And when a crack in that armor opens, the armor of ego, then the possibility of the realization emerges. And you will realize that you are, in the non-personal way, the unseen. And you will also realize that you are therefore the ultimate seer. S-E-E-R. S-E-E-R. The Unseen Seer. This is what you are. Not the personhood, not the identity, not the story, but this. And this is something that you don't have to, in fact, I highly recommend that you don't believe me on. Don't believe a word I say, because truth, as in ultimate truth, is an experience, not a belief. Let me say that again. Truth is an experience, not a belief. When it becomes experiential non-personally, then it is realized. Like this, the unseen, one realizes one is the unseen, the infinite silence, the true self. And it turns out it's fundamentally, it could not be simpler, because one already is this. So self-realization doesn't become a goal or an end point. It simply is a realization of that which is here. You get there by realizing you are already there, and there being the realized self. This mind cannot grasp, but this is already known by you. Just going to pick up on a few more hellos. I think I've seen D come on, Lee, Lisbeth, welcome to you, Lois, John, Light Guardian, and if I've missed anybody, apologies. I'm just having a quick look now. I think that's everybody, and I think there's a comment here which I'm gonna just pick. Oh, question. This is tonight's live stream. Yes, it is, Lois. It's stream 26, and it's the Unseen Seer, and it's also the start of the 3-month meditation. Just want to pick up on a comment from Light Guardian, who's saying, I understand the concept, but the ego can't drop in this 3D dimension. So we'll never get this from the space of mind until it is experiential. Then it's just theoretical. Now, there is some truth in what you're saying in the latter part of there, of the ego can't drop in this dimension. And the reason that there is truth in that is that there has to be a little, should we say, like a grain of sand, like the pearl that creates the pearl in the oyster, that allows the physical, the beingness, to manifest. So it's often referred to as an illusion, but you could also say it's both real and unreal. Now, when the grain of sand becomes identified with, and you start to add to that and become the story, then you get a very strong ego, and you get great suffering as a result. But as the opening to the heart space occurs, and the story starts to drop, and the beliefs in particular drop that you are the person and the story, then, and the openness is emerging and flowering that actually that you are this essence, this infinite silence, then the belief and identification and the attachment to the grain, which at one time may become a huge snowball, for instance, all of that starts to go. Now, to hold the body here in this dimension, then it is true that the grain has to be there. But if there's no identification with it, no belief that one is that, then this gives the opportunity for the self to be realized. There's now an opening that's wide open to the awareness that you are, in fact, the awareness. So what you're pointing at is actually accurate, but all of the belief that one is the grain of sand, this must go. Because with that, there will always be suffering. When that goes completely, and I mean completely, totally, then the suffering can drop. It doesn't mean that there isn't still the uniqueness of the expression of the silence in a particular form. I've often referred to it as like a diamond. You see the diamond through the facets. The facets here are now like the grain of sand. And you see the beauty of the diamond because of the way the light shines on and through the facets. One knows one is the whole diamond, yet your form is like a facet or the grain of sand that creates the pearl. The knowing, the awareness that you are the totality, the unseen seer. What this requires is the dropping of all of the identification and the belief and the attachment in that. And as that happens, the suffering drops with it. Usually, for most people, this is quite a gradual process or an apparent process. It can be, however, very dramatically sudden, like it was for Eckhart Tolle. That's fairly rare. More often than not, it unfolds as a journey, as more and more personhood is dropped. So back to what I was saying about the unseen seer, this unseen seer that you are, the infinite silence, again, is completely non-personal. It is unseen from the personal perspective. It is only the seer, the awareness of itself as awareness. So coupled with streams 24 and 25, this part, as I say, is just to give you another take on, another angle of view, so to speak, on the nature of the self. Non-personal awareness. That's it. That's all you are. Just awareness. And then the form and the beingness then become a gift from that absoluteness where there's no phenomena, no experience, to express and experiencing itself. And then this way, life becomes a more gentle, more graceful flowering. You're still going to have to, eat and do all the things that one does in the physical domain. Like that old Zen saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. In the first case, there was suffering. In the second, the identifications dropped. And now, there's a more graceful, more aligned existence with the truth of who you are. So I'm hoping that picks up on your question or observation, Light Guardian. Just see if there's anybody else that wants to ask or share anything on that. All right, so Nancy's asking, are you saying we will be in this state full time? For this to be the case, Nancy, the identification has to drop completely. And this tends to unfold in stages for most people. It's very rare that it's like one big lightning event. However, once that identity has dropped completely, it doesn't mean, and the self has been unequivocally realized. This you will know. This you would know. It doesn't mean that there aren't still the facets of the diamond there or the grain of sand. You will still see some, shall we say, particular characteristics of the way the silence is expressing itself in the particular form. There's something unique about its expression in that form. You may even still see some quirks, some what you might call personality quirks of that, but it doesn't mean that that being hasn't realized. Itself. It's just the silence is expressing itself in a unique and particular way. And this is why, certainly in spiritual traditions, you may resonate with how one individual, or apparent individual more accurately, shares the pointing compared to another. What they're actually saying is the same thing, but in slightly different ways. What you can be sure of, though, is that what you experience as lots of troubling stuff going on, lots of suffering and so forth, by far the vast majority of that will go. It doesn't mean that the washing machine doesn't break down or your car doesn't need fixing or that you don't, all these things are still going to happen. But you're going to find a much more graceful flow, much less. You're not really going to be triggered by stuff. You may still notice a little, shall we say, maybe perturbation occasionally. I've heard Eckhart Tolle talk about this. He talked about some time where he saw a dog being very badly treated, and he felt something emerge in him which he hadn't felt for some time, which was a little bit of distress or anger, but he noticed it then subsiding. Like this, sometimes that might happen occasionally, but what you'll notice, the awareness is so strong now of itself as awareness that there may still be something in the energetic field of the body that needs to be cleared. But as it arises, it is immediately observed or witnessed. And it's witnessed from this space of silence. And that alone is enough for it to dissolve. And this, my friends, is the essence of live stream 11, Transmuting Fear into Love. One I've spoken to you about a great deal about, how just the pure awareness alone that's talked about in that stream is enough to transform you back to that state. So yes, the awareness will be there when it's fully anchored, and I mean fully anchored. Not just a glimpse, I'm talking about fully anchored. The kind of dissolution of all of the stuff, which can take some time even after the realization. Then the awareness will be the stable background state. Like that. It's a fallacy to say that there's no uniqueness or that there's this idea of a perfect being. The absolute perfection, the infinite silence, that's what you are, but only that is really the absolute perfection. Yet the facet, it is through the beauty of the facet that you see the diamond, and that will be expressed with peace, grace, love. Presence is the thing you're going to notice. Presence. Like that insight I've shared with you before. Thought cannot heal your pain. Presence will transform it. That presence is the silence, and that's what you are. And it will be that presence that is the guiding principle of the life in the form as it's fully realized and anchored. So that's a fairly long answer to your question, Nancy, but hopefully, well, it looks like it has done it for you, so that's great. That was a good question. It's important. There's some important stuff there. Let's now go for a live stream meditation. So you just want to get yourself nice and comfortable and just gently now closing your eyes. And as you close your eyes, just bring your attention to your body. All of your body. And then simply being open from your heart to the experience of spheres of light. The pure universal sense I am. That is non-personal. I am. Just allowing your attention to rest on this beingness, this I amness. this spheres of light energy. And as your attention rests on this, simply know now that this is possible, because as subtle as this I amness, this beingness may be, it is witnessed or sensed from the deeper essence that is infinite silence. So simply allow your attention now to melt, to dissolve into and as this silence. This infinite silence. Resting deeper, dissolving completely into and as this silence. All else just simply witnessed. All phenomena just watched silently, neutrally, simply knowing you are the silence. This infinite silence. All phenomena dissolving into, merging with the silence. In truth, you will realize you are silence. In silence, you will realize this truth. Simply here, now. Nothing remaining but the pure awareness of silence. Here it is. Here you are. This non-personal essence of infinite silence. Pure awareness of self, non-personal essence. Absolute stillness. Eternity. Here, now. Always this. Always here. Absolute awareness. Infinite silence. Ever presence. Stillness. Beyond space. Beyond time. Beyond the beyond. before I am is isness. Isness is infinite. Silence is you. Pure presence. The rarefied atmosphere of silence. Unsaid knowing. Nothing else but this. Just this. Here. Now. Nowhere else but here. Now. Here. Nothing to do here. Simply is. Truth. This. just this isness. That is before all else. This unseen seer. This unmoved mover. Silence. Presence. Stillness. Unlimited. Essence. No beginning, no end. Simple eternity. So simple. Infinitely powerful. Just this. No thingness. This realized essence. is you. Non-personal truth. No belief necessary. Just knowing. Knowing of this infinite self as this infinite self through this infinite self. Here you are, the true, non-personal you. And just remaining in, through, and as that silence. And just remaining with your attention in and as the silence. And I'll just ring the singing bowl 3 times. And gently bringing your awareness to your body, but keeping the attention rested in and as the silence. And if you haven't already done so, just gently opening your eyes. Good. Good, good. Good. Namaste. So we'll just see if there's anything anybody wants to share from the meditation, or perhaps ask from what was being shared earlier. So yeah, lots of thank yous. Thank you all for taking part, and yeah, thank you for your comment, Dan. A pleasure to erase all the filters and structures. That's exactly what we're about here. What's D saying? I melted into that meditation this evening, and I've realized since my deepened experience 3 weeks ago, I've been a little reluctant to allow myself to melt in case I went any deeper. Yeah, a little trick of minds trying to come in there and hold you back there, D. But I'm glad that you've seen that. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, so thank you all for coming on. I realise this stream's quite long, but there was quite a lot of ground to cover, and the end of the line, so to speak, is that you will realise you are the living meditation. Yes, you are the living meditation. What's Asha saying here? I still had that same conked out experience. Is that okay? I'm accepting that as fine. I think the short answer to that, Asha, is yes, it's fine. Maybe we can have a longer conversation about that in terms of how that's unfolding for you, and using the power of the witnessing to notice what's unfolding. For me, it feels like for you, a big part of it is showing you there's more here than you realize. So simply accept that for now. Just remain as the witness no matter what. Sometimes when one goes very, very deep, all awareness of all phenomena drop completely. And as, shall we say, you come back into normal, let's say, back into the space, it may feel a little bit like coming out of a sleep, but it's different from sleep. Like you're coming back online, so to speak. Yeah, I like that, dear. We'll all become martini people, anytime, any place, anywhere. Like this, Asha. So I feel it's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong there. Lisbeth, you're very, very welcome. I'm delighted you can join us on this program. Please say hello to Philippe and Jewel. Where are we? Elizabeth, I found I was going deeper. So I was going deeper, thoughts would interfere and become aware and then continue. Yeah, so you may get this from time to time. Thought tries to, so we say, get in on the act. But if you simply remain as the witness, then the thought is going to pass like a cloud. So remaining as that silent witness that we talked about at great length in live stream 11. Asha, I don't feel so groggy afterwards or disoriented. This then, for me, is probably for you a good sign of progress. And for me, it's also a pointer to the power of the infinite silence meditation. You're perhaps becoming more aligned with it and embracing what it's pointing at more. So the quality of the meditation may vary as you deepen into it. So that's a good sign that you've just shared with me there, Asha. Good. So yeah, good stuff. Have I missed anybody else's comments? Lisbeth saying deep gratitude. Philip and to all connected here. Yeah, we're all in this together, folks. So I think that's everything from me. So as the saying goes, it's good night from me and it's good night from him. That's the two Ronnies for you overseas folks, a couple of comedians. But anyway, namaste. Have a beautiful weekend.